Okay, so let's look at that homework. Since I've only given you 4 problems to work on, I'd like to just do 1. Because if I do 2, I've done half your homework problems for you. Which one would you like us to work on, Valentina? Valentina, can you hear me? I don't hear you very well. Which problem would you like us to work on? All right, number 4 it is. So the first thing that I would do with number 4 is I'd want to get everything on the same side that are like terms. And so I'd take the first equation, let's go ahead and leave it like it is. Y minus 2x squared is equal to negative 3x plus 2. And then with the next equation, the bottom equation, I'd subtract 6 to get it over with the constant like 2 is on the first equation. And I would subtract 2x squared, so it's on the left with y. So I've got y, subtract 2x squared from both sides, and subtracting 6. So I got minus 2x squared is equal to x, and then minus 6. And then I'd take the whole second equation and I'd subtract it from the first equation. Have to remember to distribute that negative sign throughout both sides. So y minus y, 0. And negative 2x squared minus a minus becomes plus, so that's plus 2x squared. And that cancels also, so it leaves 0 all on the left-hand side. And then negative 3x minus x becomes negative 4x. And 2 minus a negative 6 becomes plus 6. Then I'd subtract 6. Subtract 6 from both sides, so I get minus 6 is equal to negative 4x. And then divide by negative 4. A negative divided by a negative is positive, and 6/4 simplifies to 3/2. So at this point, I'd take that 3/2 and put it back into x in one of these equations. Let's say the bottom one. Y plus 6, so I'm going to say here x equals 3/2, just to keep that in mind. Y plus 6 equals 2 times 3/2 squared plus 3/2. So y plus 6 equals 2 times 9/4 plus 3/2. 2 times 9 is 18. 18/4 plus 3/2 is 6/4. I'm going to go back here and subtract 6 from both sides. So that minus 6 becomes minus 24/6. Sorry, no, not 24/6, minus 24/4. And that's all equal to y. So y equals 18/4 plus 6/4 is 24/4 minus 24/4. So y equals 0. So 3/2 comma 0 is the ordered pair where these two equations intersect, where they cross, where they what their common solution is 3/2 0. Now, if I wanted to check that, y equals, I'm going to put negative 2x squared, put it on the right hand squared, so it becomes 2x squared minus 3x plus 2. And the other equation, y equals 2x squared plus x minus 6. And I put them in that form so that then if I go over to Desmos, I can put those in to the graphing calculator function. So 2x squared minus 3x, 2x squared minus 3x plus 2 is the first equation. And the second equation, 2x squared plus x minus 6. Okay. So then I can look at these and see where they only intersect just at that one point. And that one point is 2, 4. So let me think about this. somewhere I made a mistake, and that's okay because we can learn from those mistakes. 2x squared minus 3x plus 2. And 2x squared plus x minus 6. All right. Okay, I see what I did here. Did you see where I made the mistake, Valentina?
Yes.
You want to point it out for me?
Like you write I think it's in the first part.
Okay, so y minus 2x squared there, and y minus 2x squared there, that's fine. Minus 3x plus 2, minus 3x plus 2, that's good. Then I took 2x squared and I subtracted it from the left, so that became y minus 2x squared. That's fine too. Subtracting this 6 over here minus 6, and then I just had x. Okay, so everything there is fine. But when I subtracted y minus y, that gave me 0. And that's fine. Negative 2x squared minus negative 2x squared, that becomes plus 2x squared, and those cancel. So that part's fine as well, that's 0. 3x minus x is negative 4x, and that part's fine too. But when I subtract minus 6, it becomes plus 6. And 2 plus 6 is not 6. It's 8. And so on that problem, I can change that. So let me go back. Hello, Victoria. Welcome.
Hello.
Okay. I'm going to go green. So this should have been plus negative 6. This should have been plus 8. And then I should have subtracted 8 from both sides. And then this should have been 8. And negative 8 divided by negative 4 would be 2. So over here, this would be 2. And then I would have had 2 times 2 squared is 4. Plus 2, so then 2 times 4 would be 8. Plus 2 8 plus 2 is 10, 10 minus 6. Eight plus 2 is 10, and 10 minus 6 would be 4. And so the ordered pair would actually be 2, comma 4. And then if we go back to Desmos, we see that that's where they intersect is at 2, 4.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, the idea of elimination is you want to cancel one of the variables out, so then you're left with just the other variable.
Okay.
So then you can solve for that one variable and then go back and find the solution to the other.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
No.
Okay, so let's look at, so we did number 4. I'd be willing to do 5 or 6 with you if you'd like, but I'd like to leave 1, 2, and 3 for you all to do without my help, unless you really need it. Then you can you can call me up and I'll help you individually. But
Okay.
5 or 6, what do you think?
Um, 5.
Now between 5 and 6, 5 is the easier because it says find the zeros and it's already factored.
Yeah. So 6.
So on 5 with the zeros, you would write 0. Oh, am I still sharing my screen? You can see it, right?
Uh-huh.
0 equals x plus 12 and x minus 2. And then you said each of those factors equal to 0. So the 1, 0 would be at negative 12, and the other one would be at 2. So you'd write negative 12, and that would be the y coordinate would be 0, and the other coordinate would be x would be 2, and 2 comma 0. So with number 6, what do we need to do?
I think first we have to subtract 7 on both sides.
Subtract 7, yeah. Good. So then we're on the left, we've got x squared minus 4x. 4 minus 7?
Three.
Negative 3, right?
Negative 3.
Equals 7 minus 7, 0.
0.
Very good. And then we want to factor.
Mm-hmm.
What does this thing look like factored, Valentina?
Will be like 3 and 1.
Yeah, would be, because you got a negative.
What?
Sorry, if I put 3 here and 1, those are the only factors of 3. So negative. I got a problem here, because if I put a negative here and a positive here, 1 times negative 3 is negative 3, but 1 plus negative 3 is negative 2, not negative 4.
Mm-hmm.
If
So
go ahead.
no, go ahead.
What were you going to say?
Like if we use 4, but I don't know.
Yeah, but 4 won't multiply. If I put 4 and 1, that doesn't multiply to 3. So basically, this thing cannot be factored. But we can say A equals 1, B equals -4 and c equals -3. And then we can use the quadratic formula. X equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared.
Minus 4ac.
Hey, the song, you know it. Want to sing it with me? X equals -b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And so we can use the quadratic formula. It always works. And even if our roots are irrational or imaginary or both. So in this case, we can say x equals negative of -4 plus or minus the square root of -4 squared minus 4 times a, which is 1, and c, which is -3. And this is all over 2a, or 2 times 1. So then x equals, the negative of -4 would be +4. Plus or minus -4 squared is 16. And then -4 times 1 times -3 would be +12. And then this is all over 2. So x equals 4 plus or minus 16 plus 12 would be 28. And this is all over 2. And then I'm going to take the square root of 28 and simplify it. 28 So for 28, we look at this and say, wait, 28 is divisible by 2 because it's even. And that would be 2 times 14. 14 is still even, so I can take that 2 and it goes 7. And 7 is only divisible by 7, and that goes in 1 time, and that means we're done. So we have 2 twice. In other words, 7 times 4 is 28. And so we can write this as 2 times the square root of 7. And so we can write, since all of this is being divided by 2, I can divide each of them by 2. So 4 divided by 2 plus or minus 2 square root of 7, also over 2. And 4 divided by 2 is 2. The 2 and this 2 in front of the square root of 2 is cancel, so I'm left with 2 plus or minus the square root of 7. And so our two solutions are 2 plus the square root of 7 and 2 minus the square root of 7. Were you able to follow that okay, Valentina?
Oh, Martina left the class by accident. She just told me.
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
Valentina just left the class
Oh.
because I don't know what happened to her, but it was kind of an accident because her phone fell, so she didn't know what button she pushed.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she's trying to get back in. So, welcome back, Valentina. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I don't know at what point you dropped out, but I went through and substituted in the values of 1, -4, and -3 into the quadratic formula. And when I simplified it all down, I got 2 plus or minus the square root of 7, which gives us 2 plus square root of 7 and 2 minus the square root of 7. And those would be the values of x. So they're real roots, they're just irrational. We wouldn't have been able to find that through factoring. So let's see.